welcome back. Hi, howdy. Hey, Lawrence,
Hello
how
there,
are you?
stranger.
Tick tock, tick tock.
Man,
Welcome,
oh man.
folks.
How do these? Speaking of TikTok,
Oh,
how do
yeah.
these kids? How do these kids do it? Man, oh
That's how their
man.
time flies. We're being the solution in our 3D, 4D reality, and kids are
Yeah.
on TikTok.
I know, man. I gotta get with the program. Maybe
You're with
not.
the
I don't know.
program. You are the program.
It's good to be back.
Folks. Good to be back. Thank you. Welcome to episode 17 of the Kids Health Series with Lawrence August. 17. Can you? That sounds a little crazy, isn't it? We've been doing this
17.
since December.
Yeah, and the year's flying by. We're in October already. Before we begin here, Heidi, let's do it. Okay, ready? Want to do a little?
Oh, yeah.
Ready on 3?
Okay. Yep.
1, 2, 3. High five.
Boom.
Bang,
Oh, too far.
It's okay. I would say that we haven't lost a step, but we really never even had a step. So
that was for you, Neil.
We're just as bad as ever at that. So that's good to know.
When in doubt, blame it on the tech.
Correct. It's the
well, how
problem
have you been? We had to take some time. We both were we dove hard into our 3D life.
Yes, we did. Yeah. Well, September is now wrapped up. September is a busy month all the way around. September is National Childhood Obesity Awareness Month. So there's that going on. So, for people like myself that are really immersed in this world, you're getting a lot of different articles coming your way, things sent, and you're trying to also kind of be a part of that, getting word out through my social on that. I do wonder about these things, these national this day and national that month and awareness this and awareness that. Like you said, I think it's just like you got to be part of the solution. I mean, if I read another study, it's like, oh, it turns out, processed food's not good for you. I saw, I don't have this kind of to share, but let me kind of off screen. Guys, this made me chuckle. Here was a headline, actual headline, put up during September. Concerned about childhood obesity, Intermountain health experts suggest adopting a healthy lifestyle.
Okay.
Right? Okay, Intermountain health experts. Wow. That's the mind-blowing stuff.
How long
Who would have thought?
Yeah. What kind of meeting did they have to come up with that?
Healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
I'm kidding, but and I don't want to sound burnt out about it, guys, but there is a point where we used to say with Operation Tone Up, because it was always like, let's promote awareness, and it's like you promote a party, you prevent a problem, let's prevent, let's do something, let's. So as to your point at the start of the show here, we've been out there in the trenches as part of the solution. Kids are back in school now. Rainbow Chefs Academy, if I might throw them out a plug at the start of the show here. I know we usually mention them toward the end, but
they're the best.
For anybody out there, rainbowchefsacademy.com. We're doing some really incredible work right now, developing our curriculum, have a new curriculum team. We're expanding that. We got schools onboarding left and right. It's really exciting time. Dr. Robert Lustig on our advisory board. We got some really cool things cooking up with him as well behind the scenes. So it has been an active month. And in addition to that, just taking on my clients, got some new people on board, new families I'm working with, new kids. And it's just been a really, really fun month. Heidi, I have to turn it around a little bit on you. What are you getting into? If you might indulge us.
Yes.
I can't help but notice these amazing
isn't it cool? It's
posts
like
that you've been putting off of. Yeah.
I'm sharing a little bit of the magic that's been happening. We're going to be starting our 4th week together in the 3rd grade at this beautiful homeschool enrichment learning center here in LA. And it's an amazing space. We are the only outdoor. No, we're not the only one. There's one on the porch. We're an outdoor classroom, like fully outdoor, feet in the dirt and everything.
Love it so much.
we're building a shelter this coming week. Last week we talked about the light within and light versus dark and paying attention to the dragon within and knowing how to tame it. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, magic is happening and these kids' lights are on. And those that are wavering a bit, everyone loves coming and they don't want to go. That something good is happening. So I've just been fully immersed in that. So the times we've been trying, I know we had to literally physically build this classroom and it's kind of still ongoing. There's some missing parts, but we're doing what we can to make it work. But one of our days, I'm like, I'm sorry, Larry, I got to go back in. I'm going to campus. I got a lot to do. And so I've just been diving really deep and then just learning how to, like, I planned for so long. Okay, we're going to do this, this, and this, and this. You only have this much time together too. It's homeschool enrichment. We're 3 days a week, 2 hours of main lesson, the rest enrichment. So you gotta organize it. And then the day starts, the energy kicks in. I navigate, where is everybody at? They're navigating me. And I'm like, pivot. I'm like, everything I have is out the way. Like, we just have to go with it. And it's been a ride. It's one of those jobs I come home and I don't turn it off. I'm thinking all the time, what can I do? My whole front door is packed with all this magic I want to bring because it's October. We're bringing in the fall harvest and I'm going to decorate. And I'm just so happy, Lawrence. It's really cool.
I know you're like in your lane. It just looked like perfect visual representation, the outdoor setting. You're just completely in your element. And I needed to check in about that. And
thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. It's like that it just calls to question, it's like, you mean that fluorescent lighting and chairs lined up in a row isn't the best way for kids to learn? What?
Yeah. Do you know some of the classes that are inside, you'll like this, that are in the building and have the fluorescent, they've put sheets all around them.
Yeah.
Beautiful chiffons and sheets to filter it themselves because they know.
Lighting is just the kiss of death. Oh God, that's a whole other topic too. On lighting, but awesome stuff.
We're making things happen.
We are making things happen. I love this time of year. September, October has always been my favorite time, and shout out to the Midwest and Chicago because this is like the best time of year for our people.
Yes. It's been gorgeous here though, LA. We've been gorgeous the past several years. I know triple digits, September, October. It's been beautiful fall weather. So thank you, Planet, for showing up.
Planet. Yes, you're showing up nicely right now. So where do we could dive in? Obviously,
I'd love to see your Instagram. Sorry to keep
we can pull it up. Like, get to the grid here. Let's go a share.
We can pull some topics off of that.
Yeah. Let's see.
Kids Get Healthy USA. That's Lawrence's Instagram.
USA.
Here we go.
We got it. There it is. So we can start through. Heidi, I like you kind of. It's like a game show here. We call them out here. We got our blocks. September, man. September was a really loaded month with just a lot of variety of different things that I was coming across. It was coming across my desk and trying to communicate that out. But here we go at the start of September. Let's look at this first couple of lines on the grid here. We had obviously National Childhood Obesity Awareness Month, but anything that catches your eye, let's dive in, and I'll be happy to speak on it. And
I know, I hope that the strength training. I like
strength training. This is awesome.
Because you wouldn't think of that with kids, right?
Yeah, and so the more and more and more we study the mind and the body together, we realize they're the same thing. And any type of learning approach, if it doesn't have a physical element, it's just simply incomplete. That is really the take home. And what this looked at was the effects of resistance training on the academic outcomes in school age youth. And this was nice because this is a nice chunky systematic review. It's a meta-analysis. And, when we had our show on, doing your own research, kind of spoke about, really higher quality researches are these meta-analysis. So what this is a study of studies. So this looked at 53 studies together, right? So for a total of 1.9 million participants, right? And when they looked at this, you just see an overwhelming, I mean, some of the key takeaway ways, but significant improvements in cognitive abilities, memory, problem solving, academic performance. Interestingly enough, muscular fitness was linked to better cognition than even the aerobic. Okay. And interesting, when it was just, and again, more studies are needed, all these things, even with these large data sets. But the resistance only showed to be even more effective than the concurrent training. Now, is that to say they should only do that? Probably not. But what I think that might indicate is that if a program was really focused only on resistance, it probably really, went pretty hard on that level. And what we do know is, strength training, one, not only helps kind of get the brain primed for learning, but some of the pushback on strength training, when we grew up, you always heard about strength training stunting your growth, that the growth plates are, and that's simply not true. And that could actually be a great discussion for another time if we want to do a deep dive on that, because there's some interesting papers specifically on that. But, growth plates, you can injure tissue and these things at that age, but there is simply no evidence that is showing any kind of stunted growth. And so study after study is just showing that is simply a myth. And so, in fact, I had to, kind of go at somebody the other day on social media about that was discouraging this child of doing resistance training for that.
Wow.
For that very reason, right? And I get it. You hear that again and again and again and again, and you hear it enough times to the point you think it's true, but it's not. So strength training equals a better brain.
Okay. Are you talking teen or younger? Or are you talking?
We're talking like school age. It could be 8, 9, all the way up to 17 and beyond, right? So
and this isn't just using sitting in the gym using it's not all that, is it? It's like rubber band, it's push-ups.
Resistance training can be body weight, which I actually like that approach at the beginning, of course, because you're learning your body. We did 6 primary movements and Operation Tone Up. You're doing jumping jacks and sit-ups and push-ups and uprights and squats, and and I'm a believer in sports and in a variety of sports. I think putting your children in different activities and you finding what they like, what they may not like, but when they're able to use their body in different ways, I think it's a great thing. So it's all good. I mean, any kind of exercise is going to beat none. So,
yes.
Great research.
This might be a good lead into, because you can't help but see JFK there. Is that the video when you did the old school gym class footage? That's a good one.
It is super cool.
I remember my gym.
Do you hear this? Did you hear the sound?
To the people of America about a subject which I believe to be most important, and that is the subject of physical fitness. And this should be a matter of concern to us all. A country is as strong really as its citizens, and I think that mental and physical health, mental and physical vigor, go hand in hand. This is a subject which should be of interest to us all. I hope when we have seen the astonishing results which we have seen, where we've been able in the short space of 2 and 3 months to change the physical habits and strength of our children, that this will spread to every school district in the United States. All of us will participate, and in so doing we'll be better citizens and happier ones. This is a challenge for us all. Children, boys and girls, college students, mothers and fathers, and all of us, I think, should welcome it. I hope all of you will join in a great national effort to build a strong and better America through physical effort and through the contributions we can make by the drive and force we bring into our daily lives. Thank you.
How about that, right?
Oh my God. Well, that's everything. If some consciousness will go, oh, you're just building an army. But the others are like, you're taking down pharma. You're taking down if you have a healthy, strong nation that is present physically and consciously, oh my gosh.
I would highly recommend the documentary that, this material is pulled from. It's called The Motivation Factor. Really, really, really eye-opening. So I'd really, really recommend for anybody interested in this, the Motivation Factor. And, you're right. You're going to we're in such a different world now that you're going to get all kinds of different takes on something like this. But, you know, you have to think of what he's saying here. It sort of is spooky, which is really why it caught my attention. It's kind of prophetic. Like, you know, when we look at the state of our health in our country and what he was sort of issuing, you know, this challenge and say a warning in many ways, right, of
Yep.
what was to come. And so, you know, I had to share that. It's La Sierra High, Motivation Factor, a wonderful documentary. And
It was so
yeah, we'll
good.
see, you know, and there are some, I'm blanking on the name, but there are some schools now that are actually taking on that same program. And in fact, I downloaded the, you know, the document from the 60s, you know, from the school. It's really, really fun, you know, to kind of read through.
Cool.
You know, I love all those old, you know, nutrition books and,
Sure.
you know, PE class programs from the 60s and 70s. Fascinating
Sure.
stuff. So
It is.
yeah.
Well, you know, it makes me flash back to just not long ago. I was in Home Depot and I watched, had to set up, I have the outdoor sink and everything in my classroom. So I was getting all the fixtures for that. But I was watching this family and I eventually went over and helped and held the cart because it was a boy, had to have been like 11, like 10, 11, 12. He physically couldn't get out of the shopping cart. She was pushing him around to ride. He wasn't autistic. I didn't see any situations where he couldn't be on his own walking.
Wow.
He was lazy and he wasn't huge. He couldn't comprehend where his leg went and how to climb out of the cart. And I held it for him. He's like, oh yeah, thanks. He didn't make eye contact, just went on and they went on. And I'm just like gobsmacked at the physicality, this poor child, he had none.
Wow.
Anyway, I just
there's that. Well, you know, yeah, and you're saddling them for a life of
struggle.
And
Yeah.
this is, we're trying to, you know, the goal is to lessen suffering in the world. I think that's an honorable goal for all of us. And so
yeah. Oh
so
gosh.
here we are. We're moving along. I mean, you can see
the heavy one, the big C, that's kind of heavy, but that we talked a bit last time, I think, about that too, how it's on the rise with the young ones.
We did, the early onset cancer surge. Now this this particular post had to do with the findings from 1990 to 2019. So you know, obviously in the last few years, you know, we're waiting on more data to come in, but that also does not look very encouraging at all. Sad to say, not only in the increase in incidence, but the types, the more aggressive cancers that we're seeing now, especially in the last couple of years. We'll just kind of leave it at that. But yeah, what this looked at was 1990 to 2019 new cancer diagnosis in people under 50 totaled 3.26 million compared to 1.82 million in 1990. Now, the population did grow a bit, so that does factor in a little bit, but the rate still, even with that factored in, we did see an increase in rate.
You know what else grows though too, Lawrence? Fundraising, scientists, studies, like the number should have always been going down in general. So the point is empower yourself.
Oddly enough, as we say this, this month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. You know what? Sorry guys, and I love the spirit of anybody thinking, okay, I'm going to help. We go on these walks, but I have to say, decades of doing this, what is our ROI? Where have we gotten? You sort of got to wonder where those resources are, how they're being used. And the same can be said, honestly, shots fired. Here we go. You know, American Diabetic Association.
Yes. Heart Association, all of it. Where did those funds go? We should not have these problems
right now. Exactly. I will agree wholeheartedly with that.
Yeah.
That something is not right. You know, the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again. It's like we keep throwing money into these tills that are simply not giving us what we're looking for. So,
and you know, peeps, check out one of our other 16 episodes where we're always tapping into the
correct
people. Heal yourself.
Correct. Correct.
And
It's going
that
right
was a
along, man.
community strike. There comes our first community strike.
Yeah. Shout out to community strikes.
I'm trying to lean
What
over.
else we got? What else we got over here? We got, there's a lot of goodies here. It's a goodie bag.
Tobacco junk. This is really juicy. I'm looking around my mic here without
Yeah.
vitamin deficiencies. Well, we know about
Vitamin
those
D?
deficiencies because the sun, what they're trying to hide the sun. They're on record saying we need to hide the sun, as well as our poisoned dairy community.
If we're looking at that, this meta-analysis, another great, collection of data demonstrated an association between obesity and vitamin D deficiency in the pediatric population. And so, when you look at this, you go, what's kind of chicken and the egg? They call reverse causality is like, because we also know like obesity, one thing obesity carries with it is an inability to actually access usable vitamin D in the body. So you've got that at play, right? And then, if you're looking at lifestyle, sedentary lifestyles, more time indoors, less time in the sun, you can see where some of those correlations start to come together. There's a lot of factors in that, but good old vitamin D, and the best way we get it is through the sun. In these months now coming ahead, we're in that time period where food sources, cod liver oil and these things here are kind of useful. Those are traditionally used when we're not making a whole lot of vitamin D because of the position of the sun this time of year. So,
okay. There you go. Supplement time, peeps. We're coming into
kinda,
winter.
Kind of that time, for some vitamin D. Yep.
And that's totally cool. Yeah. I'm so funny. I'm touching my screen with my mouse like it's my scroll.
I know, right? I've done that with actual books where I've looked at a picture and I tried to make a picture bigger by like fanning my fingers apart. I was at the Henry Ford Museum and I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I've been on my phone.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah. Less screen time, Lawrence.
Less screen time. Ooh, what's that picture? I missed that one.
Which one are we?
Antibiotics. Oh, the antibiotic train.
Yeah. I want to click on this one.
That's juicy. Let's get some more strikes. Come on.
So there's some growing concern here among some pediatricians and pharmacists about the overuse in antibiotics in children.
New evidence suggesting children are being prescribed antibiotics more often than is actually necessary right now, potentially creating more dangerous drug-resistant infections. We want our little ones to feel better fast, but are antibiotics always the answer?
The biggest misuses of antibiotics in children are really for viral infections.
But do you know the difference between a bacterial infection and a virus? For example, strep throat. That's a bacterial infection. Colds, that's a virus. Over the past decade, the CDC reports antibiotic prescriptions for children have increased by 50%. And some say that overuse is creating more drug-resistant organisms.
It's become really concerning recently because we don't have a lot of new drugs that are being developed.
New research shows that if your child does need antibiotics, shorter durations are just as effective as longer durations. And parents can do their part by not always insisting on antibiotics for every illness. Now, a study in the Journal of Pediatrics reveals that almost 50% of doctor visits for respiratory infections resulted in antibiotic prescriptions, despite the doctors telling the parents it would not help.
Okay, that was the mic drop moment for me. I was like, okay, let me repeat that again for y'all, because I kind of had this clip sped up there. A study in the Journal of Pediatrics reveals that almost 50%, okay, almost half of doctor visits for respiratory infections resulted in antibiotic prescriptions. Here we go. Despite the doctors telling the parents it would not help. What are we doing?
We're boop, 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 robot land.
This is where it's, parent antibiotics. I need antibiotics. Okay. Here, take it. Go away. Right? Against the advice. And there's a lot to actually touch on with this because, as I mentioned, we're kind of running out of new drugs. And so, we're in this place where we've overprescribed so much that we're just kind of creating, new strains of superbugs that are able to outwit and outsmart. Penicillin used to work for 99.9% of all infections, and now it's good for hardly anything. And with that, so why this is important to know, because behind the scenes, these companies that, they know where the wind is blowing, they know where to put their money at. They're not putting a lot of R&D into this area, because it's just sort of like they're not getting anywhere. So the name of the game now is they want to get you on things that they can get you from cradle to grave. And we're seeing, those windows opening wider and wider, especially like with the weight loss drugs. We've already talked about that. Now they're pushing that down to as low as 12, 13 years old. They can get you on that at $1,000 a month for the rest of your life. Because again, those drugs, you need to be on them for them to work. So these chronic, making a lifestyle, right? That's where the money is going, guys, because an antibiotic course, a 5-day course, a 3-day course, a 10-day, right? So there's a lot of problematic things to consider with that issue. And so, but yeah. Overuse.
So heavy. It's again, so hard.
Yes, a virus, an antibiotic is not going to do anything. Again, a virus.
This might be the perfect time to interject and just remind people you are a sovereign civilian of free will. You have choices.
Yes.
Just make good choices.
Make good choices. Yeah. Yeah. Moving right along.
I know.
We're like dipping our toe in all kinds of fun water today.
What would be a good segue from that? A good segue one.
Well, I think into that, I mean, what I think actually the very next post, on what we saw with gut diversity, because there's a few posts like this. There was actually one post on asthma.
It's a big one nowadays.
Let's touch on this one real quick, and then the pandemic stuff, because these actually all tie in. When we're talking about the microbiology, right? Antibiotics. What are they doing? They're going after bugs and pathogens, and what is one of the drawbacks, right? Well, antibiotics can kill off bad guys and good guys, right? So we learn more and more. We always hear about the gut microbiome. I thought this was so interesting. There were 2 different studies. They had to do with asthma. One was published on the 11th, and then the next one came on the 12th. And I noticed that. I said, this is kind of interesting. So I wanted to pair them side by side. And I thought it was really thought-provoking. When we looked at study 1, headline, Healthy, Diverse Infant Microbiome Could Shield Kids from Asthma. And so they found that if babies had more mature gut microbiota when they were 1 year old, they were less likely to have allergy-related wheeze at 1 and 4 years old, right? So more robust gut meant a better immune system. And what goes into that, right? Traditional, vaginal canal delivery can be important because the baby is kind of taking on the immune system of the mother. Breastfeeding is implicated in this. All of these things, these natural behaviors that we like to get called hippies for. Well, turns out that it actually works. Go figure. Now, study number 2.
Isn't nature amazing?
It is really amazing. If we could only catch up to it. Turns out that Tang was not as good as orange juice. Man.
That's a good one.
Who would have thought?
Oh my gosh.
The second study, published the very next day, it looked at bacteria at daycare. And it says bacteria at daycare might raise kids' odds for asthma. So the research suggests that there are differences in the risks of recurrent wheezing depending on mixtures of bacteria in the daycare setting. And the paper goes into the names of those different specific strains. What I sort of wondered when looking at this research was, interesting. Now what I want to do as a researcher, I'm curious about, what about those babies with that mature gut microbiota? How resilient would they be against those particular strains, right?
Yeah.
Kind of saying here, we're saying, okay, well, we've found some strains out there that are seemingly quote unquote causing. And again, that gets into, germ theory versus terrain theory. Is it really causing it? Because we can see here, if the terrain, right, the gut microbiota is of a certain mix, we know that's less likely to have problems. And so is it the bug? Is it the germ causing? Or is it the environment, right, that germ is able to enter into? So I thought it was a very interesting pairing of two studies that came out one day apart from each other. So
I love the one day apart thing.
And it was just kind of too perfect.
You know what? Our learning center is a lot of like minds. So it's a lot of conscious families that take health in their own hands and, all that kind of stuff. And when sessions start, you're like, okay, let's see who's tummy microbiome's ready to tackle this. And so far our house is clear, but there's a couple little cults going around, but you see these children are ready to fight them. They are not weak going into these environments. So you really is all about your shields.
Yes, it's your shields, right? Right.
Yeah.
And here we go. And a few days later, new study alert, pandemic infants. What? Less gut diversity. Okay. Key quote. The differences may have been influenced by the social changes caused by the pandemic, with infants potentially experience more time at home, less time in daycare interacting with other children, increased hygiene in the environment, changes to diet and breastfeeding practices, and increased caregiver stress. So all of these things led to less gut diversity. So if we're having that knowledge, piggybacking on of what I just said, you see there is a snowball effect that is created here, and it goes into those specific bacterial changes, right? And mentions the names of these specific strains as well. And so, from a 30,000-foot view of all this, you're thinking, my God, it starts to become clear. The answer is like, we need commingling, interaction, exposure. The immune system needs that teaching. I always say that the immune system needs its own, gymnasium, which is, outdoors. It'd be great, Heidi, to teach kids out. Oh, wait a minute, you're doing that. Okay.
Yeah,
cool thing. Let's go quick. Another one, real fast. Resistance training. Resistance training as an antidepressant in young adults. Look at that. Effects of resistance exercise training on depressive symptoms among young adults. Randomized controlled trial. 8 weeks of guidelines-based resistance training. 2 sets of 8 to 12 reps. 8 simple exercises can induce large, clinically meaningful reductions in depressive symptoms among adults. Clinically meaningful meaning that if a company developed a pharmaceutical and it showed these same results, that pharmaceutical could be seen as something worth getting to market. Clinically meaningful, right?
But I mean, why isn't this the first option? The first thing, just tell your
welcome to my life, Heidi.
I know you must be. Are there cracks
Heidi.
in your
Welcome to my world.
Are there cracks in your screen? Or are you just like chucking things at it all the time?
And guys, if you go to my page, it's a wealth of knowledge. Look, my page is serving as an archive, a reservoir of material. I'm always including the PMID numbers. If you guys don't know, that's the PubMed identification numbers, where you could just type in the PMID number right into your Google search and find these papers. So consider my page a resource for all of this. And the idea being is that one thing builds on another, and it starts to put this whole puzzle together, right?
Thank you for all the selfless work you do, Lawrence. Seriously, you're doing all of this for the love of humanity, and I'm not gobsmacked. I know why the suppressed and censored, because this kind of knowledge is fearful to be empowered and knock down systems. But thank you for all the selfless love you do, folks. Please check, and you're empowering peeps alone. Here's the article. Check it out yourself.
Here it is. Check it out. And it's also nice when people, the naysayers, well, that's not really.
I know. You're like, bam.
Well, actually,
PMI.
Bam. Anything else float your fancy in here? Heidi, we got a couple more lines on the grid.
My eyeballs are not, but I remember these.
Yeah, we got.
Where are we going from there? Well, there's some more of that same. Is that a different one? No, that was the same footage of that documentary.
Yes, it is on physical fitness. This actually, I just thought it. I'll just play this real quick. Is
important part of any summer workout, as far as football is concerned, is running. This is definitely the most important part. Actually, weightlifting secondary. Biggest important thing is working on your speed and endurance. Jogging, which we're doing right now.
So this is interesting, right? So this is physical conditioning. Again, had they known, I mean, this kid's built like a house, by the way.
And this is high school? That's high school?
These are high school kids. But
Wow.
now, this is like, if he had known about resistance training even be better, what he said was very interesting.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm just running. But what I found fascinating, he's talking, the clip is 1 minute long here, but he's not even like, the kid's not even like gasping for air.
He's not winded.
Clearly, and again, the motivation factor, more archive credit. Give credit to a guy named Ron Jones, who's he's a physical health educator, and he's a historical kinesiologist. So it's really interesting. He looks at movement throughout history, so from the ancient Greeks all the way through, and he kind of is like a archivist and preservationist, and really, really cool material. The Lean Berets, leanberets.com, you can look at info on classical PE, and it's fascinating stuff. It shows some old school gym equipment and things that were techniques and things that were being used. But yeah, that's that same La Sierra High School.
Awesome.
Yeah.
When did that shift, do you think? Didn't we talk about this before? Because I remember, wearing my school uniform. We had the ropes hanging. We had to climb ropes. We did physical fitness every day. When did it change? I can't.
Well,
I don't
I mean, La Sierra itself closed up in the early 80s. And I think that with that, and I think that, and then we had so many years removed from JFK. I think a combination of things happened. If you look at it, I don't think there's any one particular smoking gun to it. But one thing we certainly saw in the 80s into the 90s was the infiltration of big food into the system of schools in terms of on the health side. So you saw that. I think that, sensibilities just changed, through the years for whatever reason, PE got put on the back burner, and there's this like big influence of kind of teaching to the test and really ignoring a lot of the things that I'm trying to emphasize here is like, the physical component, or look at what happened at the kindergarten level where they took away the toys. My stepmother's a retired kindergarten teacher. She said it was the kiss of death on the kindergarten level because what we know from countries like Finland, they're not really getting academic with children until they're about 7, which falls right into line with developmental, processes where children discover social behaviors and their curiosity is sparked through that element of play, physicality, and it was really downplayed. So we saw that downplay of physicality and the kind of push for, and then of course the standards kept lowering, right? If you can get, if it's just about getting them to pass the test, let's just make the tests easier, and became more academic, and less well-rounded in many ways. And we really started to ignore, the physical education and PE itself, is like kind of always looked at this soft thing of like, almost like a blurred line between that and recess, some hand-eye coordination in some different games. But what we wanted to get back to what Operation Tone Up was a structured program, which is very, very different because a structured program is going to say, let's measure some stuff. How many push-ups can you do? What's your blood pressure like? What's your resting heart rate like? And then let's just track you 8 to 10 weeks later. And again, and again, and again, and again, we see actual improvement. You're not going to get that same improvement from just blowing a whistle and rolling a ball. And that's all great. But it's not the same thing as saying we're going to work on this as if it is a skill.
Yeah.
And then the absences go away and the academics improves. And all of a sudden they're sitting more calmly. Their stress levels are going down. They're able to focus better. The hippocampus of their brain is fired up and everything is kind of just working better because they're able to actually be a complete human being, body, mind, and spirit, right? So,
well, it just shows more evidence towards the takedown and the dumbing down of America when they take PE out and the physical ed out. And I'm so glad you brought up that early childhood stuff. I just brought that up last night on Mr. B's Truth Seeker. He's in Oz. He had me on last night chatting, and it was all about the education and the dumbing down and what happened. And I started off with, it starts in kindergarten when they started taking out the play, because a child's work and structure and development is play. And they took that out, and like now, oh, my kindergartner's reading. I'm like, that's not an accomplishment. I'm sorry.
You know, and the thing is, if you waited a little,
I mean, you have the rest of your life.
If you did it at the right time, you know, the right medicine at the right time and the right. These kids would be reading at a college level by fourth grade.
Yes, they need to when they want to. My son can't get enough. And I remember being judged by some family members when he was in first, second. I go, it's coming. I go, it's coming. It's happening.
Yes.
He's developmentally preparing. And now it's just novels. And I'm like, see?
Thank you, Heidi.
What is it? Lord. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So
thank you for that. Any topics
welcome.
on that? Yeah, that's pretty epic.
Yeah, it
I
is.
see more obesity.
It's pretty fun. Yeah, we've got some other things here on obesity and remission. This is sort of interesting real quickly, and this is again to touch on why early intervention really matters. And so this was sort of, disappointing to look at, to be honest, but it's looked at weight trajectories and obesity remission among school-age children. And, very few children with obesity can transition to a healthy rate. So they said, basically 1% of US kids who are obese in elementary school were able to transition to healthy weight within 2 years, but 1 in 4 overweight could progress into that health range. So there's sort of like a tipping point to that, where you get from that overweight, and again, BMI is not perfect, I get that, but on a population level, it's a pretty good approximation, right? We've talked about that before. On an individual level, you can go by other metrics, but on a population level, when you're looking at body mass index, this can tell us a lot. It can shed a lot of light. So what this really means is we just simply need to start early with children to keep them from getting there. Is it impossible? No, of course not. That's what I do for a living. But without intervention, to just sort of like let this go on its natural trajectory, it's very daunting to look at that, and the solution is for those that are very, very young, we start early. For those who have already progressed into living with obesity, we've got to intervene, behavioral interventions using motivational interviewing. Those are all my favorites, right? Before we take that option of drugs, bariatric surgery, there's other things that we can do. So yeah, that was that study. That was kind of like, whoa, that was really kind of like eye-opening.
I mean, just the fact you go through all this and then make it through a day successfully, I'm so proud of you.
And when we looked at the very next day, was lo and behold, a study pops up, like early initiation of childhood obesity treatment. Now, treatment, to be clear in this study, and I did mention this in the caption. I probably should have been better with my graphic on this, because when we're talking about treatment here, we're not talking about, your drugs and surgery. What this actually looked at was just, behavioral interventions, support programs, phone call sessions, right, with counselors. And if we treat them in this fashion, so treating the children and AKA also the family with the parents, involving the parents, right? Treating children at a preschool age is much more effective than if you start treating them in their teens. Some adolescents are looking at possible bariatric surgery, and we hope this can be avoided with early treatment. This was Paulina Nowicka. She's the associate professor of pediatric science, being quoted on this paper. So it was a 10-week parent support program, right? So again, these are what we need to enforce. You're not going to see this talked about on the media, right? So that one clip when we had that last show where they just kind of blew right by it. Oh, motivational interviewing, behavioral intervention. Oh, but anyway, about this drug, the blockbuster, it's like, and it turns into a drug commercial.
Oh yeah, the happy fun ball.
And to kind of button this obesity section up is the state of childhood obesity. Here we are with the numbers. I'm going to speak on a personal thing here, because West Virginia, guys, not to go too long into it, but I have a personal involvement with that state. We had our program in there pre-pandemic when we went into West Virginia, you know, our program was in a big chunk of that state. I want to say 2/3 of elementary schools. And when we went in there, 2016, I want to say, West Virginia was number 2, number 2 rated as one of the most obese states for children. After 3 years of our program, West Virginia dropped down to number 7 at a 19% rate. Okay. Now, can we claim all the credit? No, but we certainly were a big force in that state. Now, pandemic came, closed us all up. Obviously our in-person program goes away. We're no longer to kind of really do what we did. And now in that short span, West Virginia now has skyrocketed to the top of the list at 26%. They were 7% lower 4 years ago, coincidentally, after having our program in the state for 3 years. Again, correlation, not causation, but that's pretty weird.
And that's you guys putting the program in the schooling.
That was
so the
in
parents,
the school.
The parents clearly weren't getting the education. So then when they were sent
Correct.
home for a couple of years, they didn't have the tools.
You know, we had a school in Clay County, West Virginia, who was considered, you know, a food desert. You're never going to get these kids healthy. Well, guess what? They made it into our national Fittest School Challenge. We flew them out here to Hermosa Beach. They finished second in the national challenge. These kids were on fire. They made the local news. There was press all around them. We had a lot of great coverage. And there was even a bill, the Structured Nutrition and Exercise bill, that was up to be voted on. And because politics, you know, it didn't pass. And it would have been the first state in the country to have a structured exercise and nutrition, you know, bill. So, you know, I have a very personal attachment to this data. When I see West Virginia, it just breaks my heart because I flew out there a few times and was there with those kids. Not only just the food issue, but, you know, opioid addiction. It's really insane out there. The top heart surgeons in the world are in West Virginia because there's so much business, you know, because they're also ranked number 1 or number 2 in adult obesity as well. If you look at the highest rates of childhood obesity, what stands out to you, Heidi? What those states?
South.
Yeah. That southern, you know, West Virginia,
Southern
Kentucky,
lifestyle.
Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, South Carolina. When we look at the lowest, we're looking at these kind of rural, independent, you know, rugged individuals.
They're getting dirty. They're outdoors. They're
Montana,
getting dirty,
Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, North Dakota, Rhode Island, Washington State. So interesting to sort of look at those side by side. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Fascinating stuff. How are we doing on time here?
We're doing good. We can probably crank
today.
another one out. We can crank, the juicy nuggets. Time for a little advert though. If you have not caught up with our 16 episodes, we are on Rumble. We have playlists on our YouTube channels and Facebook Live events. They still have them up there. So please check them out. Juicy nuggets. I love that you do this, Lawrence.
Welcome any kind of feedback, any kind of questions, any, you know, smashing of buttons, of subscribes, some likes, some comments, whatever's out there. But we're out here doing it. So
selflessly.
Right,
this is not a profit situation. Just want to share that too. This is not for profit. This is selfless. Please.
No, it would make my day to I just
energetically.
I would love the information out there. I'm doing fine with what I have going on. This is really an information war, and you know, doing what I can to communicate this in a pretty concise way. You know, sadly enough, it's facts don't always do much. It's the emotional connection we have to them that matters. And, you know, I think that we have to look at our own personal connection to some of this. I think sometimes when you put forward these big population numbers, people their brain just kind of glazes over. Like it feels big, you know, it feels like a big problem, but it really is a matter of just, you know, handle your household, handle your own. And if enough people do that, that's how it works. And it's happening.
Yay.
It's happening every single day. So
it is. Thank you for that.
So here we go. Like bring it home. I got the last couple lines here on the grid.
Yes,
Pick
literacy.
your,
We kind of covered that. We kind
your
of did a little
potion.
bit of the. We kind of did a little bit of the literacy. I'm having a hard time seeing this one. America's Healthiest. Oh, we did that. Schedule, healthiest schedule.
We have
I didn't see
America's
that
Healthiest
one.
Schools. That's kind of
Schools.
some.
It's
Yeah.
not schedule. It says schools,
No,
Heidi.
it's-
Do you have anything on eyes?
we
and
would
vision?
like to start up maybe a donation fund for Heidi's corrective lenses. Get a little GoFundMe.
Do you know what? It was me being. I'm on the border of having them custom made versus the last potential bulk one you can get, and the price difference. I'm like, I'll just try another year. Can't do that anymore. Got to get custom.
Real quick though, again, another one. I'll just mention this one quick.
Yeah.
Social
good one.
adversity and stress impacting gut health. Again, what is gut health? We've mentioned this like 4 or 5 times already.
It's huge.
Social and psychological adversity associated with distinct mother and infant gut microbiome variations. And so all of these things, again, it goes back to the gut microbiome. So stress, it actually matters. It's not just what we're consuming, what we're eating as food, it's what we're consuming around us. Psychological stressors really actually matter. So yeah.
I like that brought it back to the home and family though too, because your home environment and family, your relationship with your mom who gave birth to you, your relationship, like the stress is.
Look at that. I got another one for you.
Oh, there you go.
Expert stress, family, community roles in tackling childhood obesity. The most important psychological difficulties faced by obese children at the family level are communication difficulties within the family and blame. This is from a Turkish article. Mehmet Emin Kazin. I might be butchering that. But yes, family, community, communication, low temperature environments, as I always call it, safe, feeling connected. You can tell me anything. We're all here together, right?
Yeah.
And actually, speaking of today, I'm going to kind of bounce over to Rainbow Chefs Academy because we have a post up there about today is, well, it's the beginning of the month, right? October. Okay. October is National Eat Better, Eat Together month. Eat better, eat together. So yes, man, isn't that amazing how it all ties up like a nice.
Yes. I have a little story with that, with the health and communication. Recently, my son just passed another belt test. He's a kung fu dude. Yeah. And that particular day, I was super under stress with the building of the classroom. The giant was totally stressed out with the strike and what's happened, that's a whole nother story. But we did not celebrate the way we did the last belt test. It kind of just was like, good job, pal. And then we went on our way. He had a sore throat that night. He said he had a sore throat. He started feeling funny. And I was just tuning in and I'm talking about it. And you could see him stopping. And I go, do you have something you have to say? Are you not getting everything out? And his tears were welling up. And he goes, I just don't feel that it wasn't I thought it was a big deal. And I sat him down with the giant and he expressed himself, told us how he felt. Sore throat went away. Wow. We all had a hug. We all had a laugh. We all made a plan to celebrate at a different time but it all went away. And I'm like, he was holding in because he didn't want to stress us out anymore by saying how, he's bummed out. So he held it in and he started getting sick.
The throat chakra.
Yeah. And I was like, get it out, pal. And again, it takes also a parent wanting to recognize and fix the situation, not say, oh, just, here's a pill.
It's this difference between being like, why are you being so bad? Why are you being like that? Versus what's hurting you? What are you going through? That's leading to this. Like, what are you dealing with? How can I help you deal with that? That is a very different thing because that's actually what's happening. So if we're going to come at them with that kind of judgment, like, why are you like this? You're such a little brat. Boy, oh boy, talk about shutting down everything, right? Versus what's happening with you? Like, is there something,
Let me close this.
coming from that place of, curiosity of like, how is it that I can help you and support you here? What's happening, buddy? What's going on? Completely different energy to that.
Yeah.
So
Everybody's
Yeah.
slowing down a bit, but I love that. That's communication and the family time. I have to pull up though. I saw, I think, a Facebook post of yours because we start at the very beginning talking about
Okay.
tobacco awareness, this all the
Yeah,
awarenesses,
yeah.
and there's always an awareness, and then there's the problem. Always in like the same.
Oh,
It's such irony.
Actually, hold on.
Yeah.
Let's see if I could get that. I have. Let me.
It was pretty classic because it's like,
hold on. I think I might be able
yeah.
to share.
And folks, please hit like and subscribe and share. Speaking of share.
Oh man, can I share a here? Let's see.
Okay.
Pull that up. Is that
Yep.
all right?
Yeah, that's
beautiful,
it. That was it.
right? Okay. Oh wait, where'd it go?
Oh.
Where'd
It's
it
like,
go?
no, you cannot.
Where'd it go? Where'd it go?
Yeah.
Hold on. I'm not giving up.
That's funny.
What in the world?
We'd love to know
I
your
see.
comments too.
I see. Yeah. Well, this is a fun kind of light note too.
Here we go.
Okay. Yeah. So I just thought this was funny because when I go through these days, I always tickled by the certain. So let's see. It is it's International Coffee Day, but it's also Caffeine Addiction Recovery Month. It's World Vegetarian Day. It's also National Sausage Month. It's Blindness Awareness Month. And it's also Contact Lens Safety Month.
My God.
It's World Sake Day. And it's also National Liver Awareness Month. It's ADHD Awareness Month, Heidi. But it's also Squirrel Awareness Month. Oh, look! A squirrel! It's Squirrel Awareness Month. Amazing.
Oh, it's so awesome.
Sometimes you just can't.
You know, I was like, is he messing?
Right.
And then I looked at, I don't know.
No. Those are all legit. Fact check me. Those are all legit. I was not making that up.
It's so nuts. So
So,
crazy.
Oh,
That's
good
great.
stuff.
Give me a laugh there. Well,
Yeah.
Lawrence, that's just fabulous. Thank you for again sharing all your information always, and just again, I gotta share your little Kids Get Healthy. Here is the Instagram. That's where you can find that beautiful. I mean, every day there's a juicy nugget with the sauce to back it up, and
Trying
you
to
must be.
put that sauce in there.
Got to put the sauce in there.
Yep.
And you can always reach Lawrence at kidsgethealthy.com or Lawrence at kidsgethealthy.com.
Yeah.
And
However you prefer.
And it's been such an honorable ride to do this with you because we do have history, but this has been your forte for ever since I've known you in our 20s. And it's just I love seeing how it's just unraveling rolling out for you.
All of it, Heidi. I think our paths are beautifully running parallel to each other, and I'm so grateful for you, what you're doing for the world, for the young ones, for the next generation, and beyond.
Thank
And
you,
it's an
and you
exciting
too.
time. It's exciting
Yeah.
time. We're confronting all of the problems, but we're offering the solutions and we're implementing the solutions, and that's really what it's about. And the problems can get our attention, but they need, we need solutions, and we have them, guys. So.
Yeah. Solution-based living, peeps. Make good choices. Make good choices. So, yeah, there we go. So I guess I'll probably see you in 2 weeks unless I build another classroom.
I think we can make it happen.
Yeah, we can make it happen.
Episode 18.
Episode 18. This place might be covered in decor because it's all standing by, ready to go up. It's like the kids are like, it's October 1st. Put up Halloween. Let's do it.
Wait, you ever see that meme with the spider web where it's just like shows like the spider's reaction when you like clear away his cobwebs, and the spider's like, whoa. And then the spider's reactions when you put up your own fake cobwebs right after. The spider's like, whoa. I had to like translate it's funnier as a meme, but it makes me laugh every year I see that meme.
Do you know, I have those masks. I pimp out. Most of our decor is Christmas and Halloween, but I have these huge, crazy spiders. I can't put them at the front. We've been 1 year in our new house, and our neighbor has arachnophobia or the spider thing. She's like, knock, knock, knock. Can you please remove your spiders? And I'm like, then that guy on the across the street has like the creepers coming out of graves, and I have spiders with smiley faces, like, and I'm like, really? Okay, so we're gonna pimp out the house with them inside.
All right,
yeah,
we're gonna stick the landing here on an hour.
Yay! Thank you, Lawrence, again so very much. And I'm going to close out with Lawrence's Kids Get Healthy trailer. So please stick around for that. And please like, subscribe, and hit the share button. We're so grateful for you all.
Little steps, big health. Peace.
Yeah. Peace. Thank you, Lawrence. Bye, everybody.